Good morning. Oh boy. It seems like the light is changing in here because it's early in the morning, the sun is coming up. I got my blinds partially open. Got a light here. If I turn on the light behind me, all these lights, I got to do something about this lightness. That's a whole different thing. Anyway, it's Friday morning. I hope you're going to have a great day. It's going to be an interesting subject. Actually, it's going to be a couple parts here, maybe more than that, because we're going to get into a number of different subjects here. But we're going to look in chapter 5, verses 1 all the way to verse 9. And you're going to have a really difficult situation for a person here who's pretty much given up hope. And I know a lot of people that resigned themselves to hopelessness. They've been waiting a long time, nothing's happened, and they give up. They throw in the towel. Well, this is a message for you. Okay, I've been there. I know what it's like to finally feel, see, this is never going to happen. This is never going to work. God is never going to answer my prayers. You know, actually, I'm a lot more patient now than I was when I was younger. If I had someone told me when I was younger, well, in fact, I was told that you're going to have to wait a year or so. That just overwhelmed me. That seemed too long. I can't do that. But, God has a reason for us to wait. And I wish I had trusted him more in those days. But let me tell you a story here in chapter 5. It's going to be the third sign Jesus does. His first sign was turning water into wine. Second sign was healing the nobleman's son. Okay, one was a miracle over physics. Second was a miracle over space. This is going to be a whole different kind of thing, but it's going to lead to some major religious controversy, which we're going to talk on in the next message and the ones to follow that, because a lot of people are caught up in that as well. Okay, let me read a portion of this, and then I'm going to give you some insights concerning what God is wanting us to believe and think. Okay, after these things, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Okay, nobody's exactly certain which feast it was. We tend to believe it's the Passover because that's the one feast that was required for every Jew to attend. Okay, now, there is in Jerusalem by this sheep gate a pool, which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porticos. And in these lay a multitude of those who were sick, blind, lame, and withered. So there's this pool. Actually, there were 2 of them. They were kind of separated by a little wall. It was close to the temple. And you had all these sick people that were around it. Diseased, sick, paralytic, all kind of, you can just imagine the smell. I can. And the pollution and just all the depressing sight you could see at this place. Okay, now in the next verse, you're going to have, if you got a New American Standard or I think the New International Version, the end of verse 3 and verse 4 may be missing, or they'll be in your marginal notes. The King James has inserted it. And the reason being is that those verses, the 3b and 4, are not in the original Greek, older Greek, I'm sorry, in the older Greek manuscripts. Okay? A lot of people believe they were inserted later as a legend to support what people at that time believed was going on at that pool. And it's kind of superstition. Nowhere in the Bible are we taught superstition. Okay, I see people riding in their cars with little Virgin Mary and all that and thing, like if it's going to protect them from getting in an accident. Okay, that's a superstition. Or wearing a charm or a good luck charm or something like you got a rabbit's foot in your pocket. The Bible doesn't teach that sort of thing. Okay, but anyway, the legend was that at a certain time, an angel would come and steer the water and the first one to get in it would get well. Well, of course, that seemed cool if you're paralyzed and you have nowhere to get down into it. But anyway, that's the belief that the people there had in their minds. Okay, that's why that verse is not inserted. But it doesn't really change what Jesus is going to do, because in reality, there's this setting there that Jesus wants to address. So let me go to the rest of it. Verse 5. And a certain man was there who had been 38 years in his sickness. So that's an important time to note. He's been sick a long time. 38 years, that's a long time. Okay? And when Jesus saw him lying there, he knew that he had already been a long time in that condition. And Jesus makes an interesting statement to him. And this is where the heart of the message is going to go, because Jesus is going to get right to the heart of this man. And he says to him, do you wish to get well? Man, if I've been sick 38 years, I would say right away, yeah, of course. It would seem like a dumb question to ask. Do you wish to get well? What Jesus was really addressing was the heart of this man's hopelessness. He had resigned himself to being in that condition. Jesus was not merely addressing his physical need, but his psychological one, his emotional need. Okay, he had pretty much thrown in the towel. He had given up hope. You know, he's probably just laying around there because there's nowhere else to go. Listen, I know people that are on welfare. They could get off if they wanted to, but they're scared. They've given up. They're afraid that if they get off of it and go get a job and then welfare is cut off, that they're going to lose it and they're not going to be able to take care of themselves. They've given up. So they resigned themselves to become dependent on the governmental system. Okay, I know people right now, and I'm talking about 38 years. Generation after generation after generation of victims. People that become dependent. They've given up hope. They have no hope in themselves that they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps and move on. So Jesus goes right to the heart of the question when he asks this man, hey, do you want to get well? Do you really want to get well? You really want to get off this dependency you have on this person that's enslaving you? Do you really want to be free of these people that are ridiculing you and telling you you can never amount to anything or do anything? I've been told that many times. You'd be surprised at the things people have told me, especially early on when I was a Christian, when I just became a Christian. You know, and it confused me greatly. And there were times when I did. I resigned myself. And what happens when you resign yourself and you give up hope? You start drinking, you do drugs, you may get involved in other things because you don't have any hope. Man, to be hopeless and to give up hope is one of the worst conditions, one of Satan's favorite place to get you emotionally. And Jesus wants to rise this man out of that condition. So he says to him, do you want to get well? And the sick man answered him, sir, I have no man, here's that victim mentality, to put me into the pool when the water is stirred, but when I'm coming, another steps down before me. Someone always gets there before me. Listen, if I've been sick 38 years and I'm right next to a pool and I believe of the legend that at a certain time, man, I'd invent a skateboard or something with wheels to run me down there. I'd do something to get me there before somebody else. Okay? I'd be desperate to come up with an idea. Okay? This man doesn't, he's just like, nobody there to pick me up and take me down to the water. You know, I don't have a car, so I can't get to work. Oh, well, right now, you know, I really don't have the energy, and I wish I did, but I don't. You know, I'm full of excuses, okay? And that's basically what this guy's doing. He's the ultimate victim, okay? He's resigned himself to become a dependent. And Jesus said to him, Jesus didn't even deal with that. He says to him, arise, take up your pallet, and walk. Jesus said, hey, you want to get well? Get up. Get off your rear. Okay? Now, and so the guy must have looked at Jesus right there and knew that Jesus says, and immediately the man became well and took up his pallet and began to walk. Now it was a Sabbath on that day. There's Jews there watching this. That's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to talk about how religion can kill spirituality. And we're going to talk about what real legalism is and what it's not. Okay, and you're going to be greatly amazed. But for today, what is the lesson? The lesson is don't ever give up hope. Don't ever throw in the towel. Yeah, it may be a long time in coming. God has a reason for you waiting, And, we even in James 1, it says, for consider it all joy, my brother, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. Okay? I can endure a lot more now than when I was younger. Okay? But I've had to learn through some very difficult things. But the main question is that Jesus has, hey, man, do you really want to get well? I don't need to believe in some superstitious thing. I just need to look to God and say, God, here's my request, here's my prayer, and just tell him and pour out my heart to him and say, Lord, I've been waiting a long time, and I really do want to get well, not just physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. Lord, I'm waiting. I will get up and do my part. Give me the strength to do that, because I can do all things in Christ who strengthens me. You all have a great day. God bless you all.